It has never been more obvious now what the Washington Wizards are trying to do coming up on the trade deadline, as we now have some more rumors and sources coming out saying that there are certain players on the Wizards that are going to be shopped around a little bit and have already been asked about by different teams like the Los Angeles Clippers, the Milwaukee Bucks, and some other contenders looking for a backup big man who's on a very, very cheap deal. You guys might know who I'm talking about with that. So in this video today, we're going to break down exactly everything we know trade rumor wise, but specifically for one player that I think is more likely to happen than all the others. Welcome to Wizards Digest. I'm your host, Bryson Akins, writer for Wizards on SI, have inside access, media member, credentialed, all that good stuff. So I can give you guys the inside scoop of what all I know from my sources, along with what I see at the games when I am there. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single minute of the action here covering the Washington Wizards. With that out of the way, let's go ahead, get into the video today talking about these trades that are going on with the Wizards, as there's some rumors and speculations going around that the Wizards are interested in some teams. Some of their players are really interested a little bit and some contenders. The Milwaukee Bucks are a team that's been brought up quite a bit as well. And so it'll be really interesting to see what happens here going forward. So the first bit of information that we have right here, all right, this is the big one, CJ McCollum. And this all comes from Brett Siegel over at Clutch Point, so keep that in mind, please. Another Wizards player drawing attention from teams around the league is veteran guard CJ McCollum. While McCollum has not been mentioned as a potential target for the Bucks, he has been brought up in connection with the LA Clippers, sources said. And he also went on to talk about how the Clippers, are interested in him, but CJ McCollum could fetch 2 to 3 second-round picks if the price is right here. I know second-round picks to you might not seem like it's a lot. However, second-round picks are extremely valuable, as you can then package them to move up into the first round or get picks later on down the line. There might even be a chance that that second-round pick turns into someone that's a good player. A.J. Mitchell is a good example of that over on the Thunder right now, who was taken in the second round and has become a key part of that team and is a favorite to win Sixth Man of the Year right now. Go ahead, get a look in some more rumors here. This is when things got a little bit spicy when I saw it. Per Brett Siegel, other than Grant, 2 other names who have been linked to Milwaukee are the Miami Heat wing Andrew Wiggins and Washington Wizards wing Corey Kispert, sources said. So it's interesting to note that the Milwaukee Bucks are interested in Kispert. It's probably in a situation to get Giannis to stay a little bit. I'm sure it is not a move that sends Giannis to Washington one bit. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. I don't see that happening. Giannis doesn't want to go to Washington either. He will hold out if that trade does happen. So let's go ahead, hold our horses there before we say Giannis to Washington, Giannis to Washington. It's just not happening. All right, let's be perfectly clear about it. But this would be a trade to try to keep Giannis there and be like, look, we're getting you some good supporting cast, a veteran on a cheap contract who's a good three-point shooter as well, and Kispert. That's what they're looking at right there. And this is what Siegel had to say about Kispert and these rumors right here to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Washington Wizards are rebuilding, and they appear to be open to receiving calls about any of their players outside of their recent first-round picks. So that's like Bilal Coulibaly, Bub Carrington, Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr, Tre Johnson, Will Riley, those kinds of guys. They're not shopping whatsoever at the moment, all right? They're not open to calls about any of those guys. But everyone else, they're open to calls. They're willing to listen a little bit. Only one I want to throw on that list is Cam Whitmore, as he is dealing with that injury right now. And they traded for him for a reason. He's a DMV guy. Dawkins clearly liked him before all of the stuff went down this season. So he's someone I think is going to stay for a while. I don't think he's going to be shopped around whatsoever. Kispert is an interesting name who could help a lot of contending teams when healthy, and he finds himself in the first year of a team-friendly 4-year, $54 million contract. So that's when, like I said, things got a little bit interesting looking at this. Kispert, he is on a very friendly deal that can be traded around very easily. Maybe it's like a Denny Avdia situation over in Portland right now where, hey, he got traded there because he was on such a friendly deal where it didn't really cost a lot to get rid of him whatsoever. It was kind of easy to move him because of that contract. He could go to any team practically. However, I will say, from what I have heard from the team when I've been at games, talking to Keefe, talking to other guys in the organization as well, I don't think Kispert's getting traded. I don't think so. From what I've heard, from what I know, I think the team just values him too much as a veteran and, a voice in the locker room. They really like him. Like it mentioned there, he's a veteran. His three-point shot has been really good this season at 39.4% from distance as well. So it's not like he's been a, scrub sort of, way where like he had a really down year last season. This season, he's looked solid as a 3-point shooter and a veteran. He's doing the little things. He's hustling. He's diving for loose balls. You always want someone like that on your team. And like I said, he's kind of a veteran and a vocal guy on this team. That's what it is. All right. He's a vocal guy. He's out there doing his thing a little bit. When I was and I know this was really early in the season, when I was covering Wizards at Mavericks, I saw Kispert, like he was, jogging around, hip hopping around, like just doing everything he can to lift spirits up a little bit before the game. He was excited, dapping everyone up, shaking hands to every single person part of the organization. He was. And so I think that's someone the team kind of wants to stick around for a while. So I don't think Kispert's getting traded whatsoever. I will tell you that right now. This season, Kispert's not getting traded. We can revisit this in a season or two, and the 2026-2027 season, maybe even the 2027-2028 season. We might revisit and be like, look, he's probably going to get traded this season now because of some of the younger talent, and he's on a very friendly contract that can be traded fairly easily. The guy that I do think is getting traded, though, CJ McCollum. And like I mentioned, he's linked to the Clippers, and this is something like that I thought could be thrown together real quick because it's really hard to trade with the Clippers, plain and simple, because of how much money a ton of their, many of their guys are making. They're an old team. There's some guys that I don't think they're willing to trade whatsoever. If they are willing to trade, it's not like it's going to match up money, fairly enough where the Wizards can take on cap or, the Clippers can take on cap because the Clippers can't. They pretty much have to shed cap or it has to be, fairly even. So that's when things get a little bit tricky with it. So this is what I threw up preliminary, and like I said, this is just something that we could potentially see in a potential trade involving the Wizards and Clippers and CJ McCollum. The Wizards would get John Collins, Bogdanovich, 2026 second round pick, and a 2031 second round pick. And then the Clippers would get CJ McCollum, Malaki Branham just as like filler for cap, that sort of stuff. It says they get worse, but I mean, the whole point of this is the Clippers are trying to make a push to be a contender late in the season because they don't have their own first-round pick. They don't want it to be a top 5 pick and hand it over to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They don't want to do that. So they're trying to do everything they can to be a good team right now and at least make a push to the playoffs so it's not a lottery pick. That's what the Clippers are essentially trying to do, and they think CJ McCollum might be a player that can help them out there. Do I think it's just getting CJ McCollum is making them a playoff team? No, I'll be honest. I don't think that's the move that makes them a playoff team. I don't, okay? However, if they really want to try it, and knowing this Clippers front office and organization and the moves that they have made in the past, them trading for CJ McCollum is not far-fetched, and it actually is very believable, and I do think something like this is going to happen. I truly do. CJ McCollum, the team doesn't want him to be bought out. He is their most valuable veteran on the team right now. As you heard, they can get 2 to 3 second-round picks out of him if they trade him to a team. You want to try to get those picks. You don't want him to be bought out. And I know I know for a fact he doesn't want to spend this last season his contract on a rebuilding team, especially as he's getting older. He wants to try to go to a contending team and win a championship potentially. So like this, it suits them both a little bit. Clippers would try to make a late playoff push with him. It's just, I don't know what the package would exactly look like. I know the Wizards wouldn't want to take on an expiring contract in a season or two. That's why I included Collins and Bogdanovich. Collins expires after this season. That's $26.5 million in cap space gone right there. You add in Chris Middleton's as well. That is then almost $60 million in cap space freed up right there. Bogdanovich, $16 million every 2 years, $16 million per year, 2-year contract. That last year, it's up. That's when I think Alex Sarr, no, not Alex Sarr, that's when Bilal Coulibaly extension would go into play. So you have that money freed up for him. So that's what I'm looking at is like money-wise in the future. Is it going to free up some money for some key guys here? That's what I'm mainly looking at. Another guy to keep your eye open as well on the trade market is Marvin Bagley III. He's someone that has been playing very well as a backup center on a minimum contract. Brett Siegel also reported that in his article as well from what he's been hearing around the league, that some contenders are potentially interested in Marvin Bagley III as a backup big, as he is on a minimum deal, so it's really easy to trade for him. Just the Wizards could trade him for 2 second-round picks and be like, here, take it. Yep, go ahead. We're fine with this. So it's really interesting to see what's going to happen with Marvin Bagley. But the main guy to look out for is CJ McCollum. I think a CJ McCollum trade is bound to happen sooner rather than later. I don't think Kispert is going. I think the only two guys that are really getting traded this season would be Bagley and McCollum. Bagley I'm a little bit on the fence about, as the Wizards might want to try to keep him, but we have seen in the past they trade him, get some value out of him in return, and then Bagley comes back on a minimum deal like he did this last offseason. So it's really interesting to take a look at what's going to happen here with the Wizards and Bagley, but specifically what's going to happen with McCollum. I think a trade's going to happen, so watch out for news regarding him and the Clippers coming up here soon. That's all I got for this video. Let me know what you guys think a perfect trade package for CJ McCollum to the Clippers would look like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.